Going on, Clippers fans? Welcome to season 2, episode 22 of Clips and Dip. We are your more than once a week Clippers podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Deezer, YouTube, youtube.com/@Clippers podcast. I am Chuck Mockler. William Updike is usually with us. He is unavoidably detained. Adam Osland is always with us, the voice of your Clippers pre and post game on AM 570 in LA. Adam, things are a little rough right now. The Clippers were 3-4. How are you feeling before we give kind of these people a preview into what we're talking about tonight?
Doesn't matter how I feel. It's about what I do. No.
I don't know what that means. I have no idea what that means. I'm not following that train of thought, but I'm excited to see where this episode goes.
It's about actions.
Sure.
No,
okay. No,
I'm
that's
good.
fair.
I'm good. I feel fine, Chuck. It's good to be on with you. It was me and Will last time out. We're not
Yes.
just your once a week podcast. We're not just your almost everyday podcast, but we do stuff on the weekends because if the Clippers play like they're going to be on Sunday, you or Will, you're coming on with me post game. So we got you covered in ways nobody else really does.
Yes, we're doing our best here at Clips and Dip. We are part of the 213 Empire. Shout out 213 Hoops. Go follow all their good stuff. Today we're going to be talking the Clippers and the Mavs in-season tournament game. The Clippers are struggling a little bit as they head into a game against, I think we can both agree, the best team they've played so far this year. Probably.
Yeah, that's accurate. They're heading into a tougher part of their schedule, and they're 3-4.
Yes, sure. And they're 3-4. And then we're also going to talk the Mason Plumlee injury timeline. No official team announcement yet, press release wise, but we got some news. It's going to be up to 2 months. They're targeting Daniel Theis. We're going to talk about all that. Adam, I think you and I might be on the same page with that whole thing. We'll get into it later, but let's talk about Clippers. yeah, exactly. Hey, Terrence Mann for Daniel Theis works straight up. That's all I'm saying. Clippers versus Mavs. The Mavs right now, they're 6-2. Luka is averaging 31, 9, and 9. Kyrie is at 20 points and 7 assists a game. He's not shooting that well. And Tim Hardaway off the bench is absolutely killing it for them. The Clippers are in the opposite end of the boat right now, I guess. Things have not been going well. Let's talk broadly before we get into the specific matchup. Adam, where can the Clippers be better on offense? 93 points against the Nets. We think we're better than that. But what's going on?
To break 100 points so far with James Harden in their first 2 games.
2 games? It is 2 games.
It is 2 games, but I do want to make this clear. You look at it, the Clippers have played 7 so far. Oh, that means they have 75 more games to go. No, actually, they don't. They don't have 75 more games where PG, Kawhi, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook will all be available. That's just the reality of the situation. It would be great if they were, but that's not going to be the case. The schedule gets tougher. There's more back-to-backs. Guys get dinged up. We've already seen it with Mason Plumlee. You never know what's going to happen. So
that was a rough play. We're going to talk about that play more, but that was rough. The play itself.
It was rough, Chuck.
It was a bad play on Julius Randle's part. So it feels like are you sounding alarm bells?
Not alarm bells.
James Harden tender?
I call them urgency bells. I call them big swinging urgency bells.
Urgency pings. They're not alarm bells. They're urgency pings. It's like a little chat you're throwing out there.
I don't want it to seem like they have so much time when in reality they don't. And they don't have 75 more games of all those guys being healthy together.
That is fair. So let's start with the obvious. The Clippers offense has been rough. Joey Lynn had a tweet that I want to pull up, though, that he pointed out the last 2 games, the shooting variance has been wild. Yeah. It's been very bad for the Clippers. PG is 9 for his last 31 in the last 2 games. He's 3 for 16 from 3. That's going to hit the other side. There were 2 games before that where Paul George was very good. And we're hitting a rough shooting slump at the worst time, which is when you're integrating a new piece. So
I have some faith that coincidence, though, that they're hitting this at this time while they're
I
integrating a new piece. I'm not
that's a
blaming
fair
James Harden
argument.
for this. What I'm saying is this.
It's harder to do. It makes it harder to bounce out of the slump for sure.
Yeah, but they could be related. There could be a correlation there. And
Totally.
I had this thought late last night, just like I
How late?
had with Bones, where I thought about
How
tweeting
late?
something out. It was late. We're
What
talking
time?
like 2
Can
in
we
the
get a
morning.
time?
2 in the morning,
Okay,
Chuck.
so not crazy late. Not crazy late.
That's not crazy late. It's
2 a.m. is not crazy late.
6 a.m. and then it's morning. Like, what are we
That's
talking?
crazy late. Yeah, that's crazy late.
But that's closer to the time I'm waking up.
Okay. Okay. Is a crazy. Okay. What was the
What the
tweet?
fuck goes on in Montana? What time is your?
There's no sun, so it's always night.
It's 30 days of darkness like Alaska.
Yeah.
So I just had this terrifying thought, and I want your help with this. Maybe you can think.
Oh man. Okay.
Maybe you can think of some instance in NBA history where there have been 4 guys like this on the same team that all need shots, shots to stay in rhythm. What if it's just not possible to have a big 4 of scorers, not just, oh, Draymond does this really well, or Chris Bosh can play this position and do these things too and rebound, or Kevin Love can also do this.
Not as specialized of a big 4.
Where there are obvious defined roles. Hey, Klay Thompson doesn't want to dribble anyways. He doesn't need to. What if there's just no really precedent to what we're seeing right now with what the Clippers are trying to do? And it's damn near impossible to keep everyone in a rhythm when 4 guys need shots out there. And I'm not trying to sound the alarm bells here. I'm just wondering when the Clippers average 87 shots per game, let's say,
right,
those 4 guys, you divvy it up, and they all come out to averaging around 15 maybe. And I'm not saying that's going to be the case every night. I'm saying on average during a season.
I know.
Well, that's 60 shots. There's 17 more to go around for the rest of the team while just trying to get each of those guys around 15. We know Kawhi is going to take more. Paul George, last night, he had 20. James Harden only had 9. But Russell Westbrook, I think, had 18. Kawhi had 16.
Yes. Russ took way too many shots, which is what my main argument is going to be.
Which
I think you're going to agree with.
Do you keep guys in rhythm? That a lot of these guys are rhythm shooters. A lot of these guys, when they cook, it's not because it's happening intermittently throughout the ball game where you're getting to eat, It's, this guy is feasting because he's hot right now. Well, what does that do for the guy next to him that hasn't touched the ball in a while? Kawhi Leonard came into the game last night with 6.5 minutes left in the 4th quarter. He did not take a shot till the 155 mark of the 4th quarter. About 4.5 minutes of him not taking a shot.
Sure.
I just wonder how practical it is to keep a bunch of guys in rhythm. And it doesn't mean they all have to eat every game. That one of them can't have an off game and 3 can or 2 can and they can still be successful. They certainly can. But the idea of a big 4 is that they all are coming at you in waves, and who do you stop? But in this case, if they're all needing to score as their big 4, and it's not like the Golden State Warriors, hey, Steph can set guys up. He can come off screens. He can do all these other things. Well, Kevin Durant can be a catch and shoot guy at times. That's the effing truth. He was the greatest catch and shoot guy.
No one's arguing against
times
that.
ever.
Yeah.
Draymond Green doesn't even want to shoot. So there's a different big 4 here than really I think we've seen before, because they all want to get shots up, need to get shots up, are so good with the ball in their hands. It's a little bit concerning.
It is new ground. You're not wrong about that. But where the other part that they've talked about that we've heard them say is sacrifice. And the biggest thing that's going to be sacrificed if it wants to be successful, as we think, and again, it's only been 2 games. It's been 2 games. So we got a little more runway to go, at least with seeing how this goes. I'm not saying it's been good yet, but it has been 2 games.
James Harden
But what I'm
taking
gonna
9 shots last night, is that what you mean by sacrifice? I'm trying to understand.
I'm trying to explain. What needs to happen is that Russ needs to go to the bench and get his bunch of field goal attempts on the bench. I don't mean that
that's happening this week? Do you think that's happening anytime soon?
No, that will not happen because we're going to see 10 to 15 games because all the 4 wants it and because Ty Lue wants it. Do I think that's the best idea? Not at all. But after this 10-game sample size, I hope we get to see it because Russ off the bench is nice. You've talked about it. It's not a weird demotion. If they've talked about the sacrifice stuff and they've talked about all this stuff, this shouldn't be an issue. And I hope that's what they do next. What you're saying isn't wrong about this starting lineup, but
we're talking about fluky shooting variants, right? Why is this happening? It's just wonky. It's going to stop. But if guys are going minutes without touching the basketball,
2 games,
that can lead to some of these shooting woes sometimes, I think.
Agree.
They don't have the feel out there. They're used to touching the ball more. They're used to getting more reps. So it's just a hard thing to juggle. I'm with you. I think that would be great. I thought that was my biggest reason for bringing in James Harden. You can get Russ off the bench.
So, what sucks is the Clippers are playing a Mavs team that they're going to have to catch up with scoring-wise. The Mavs are number 1 in 3-point attempts per game and number 1 in 3-point percentage per game, which is that's absurd. It's early in the season. It's crazy sample size, but that's what we're running into right now. So this is the game where the Clippers, where this big 4 who's been, everyone seemed a little herky-jerky to kind of start. This is the game where hopefully it kicks into something, or a couple of these guys, that it's time to put the pedal to the metal, because I don't want them to get blown out in this game. I don't think they will, but it's going to take someone being assertive or shots to fall. Because if Paul George hits a couple more shots, we're talking, I think, a little bit different. But someone's got to be assertive in this Mavs game specifically, for sure.
If they play the way they played the last 2 games, they likely will get blown out. So something has to change because the Mavs are that potent on offense. You said something interesting last night. I believe it was to the degree of they're all being aggressive at the same time or all being passive at the same time.
Yeah.
So elaborate on that for me, because I thought that was pretty good.
It just feels like everyone... it's been your first day at a new job before, and you've seen a task that needs to be done. Even though you haven't been there before, you know that there's a motion you can make to complete something, but you know the other person who's been here before is also going to notice that. And you hope you noticed it in enough time to get it done without it being awkward for you to do that for them. That's what it feels like the Clippers playing offense right now. It feels like everyone somehow knows what has to happen. But there's just this there was James Harden has hit Zoo with some wonderful pocket passes from the pick and roll. We've also seen Zoo mistime the run and the ball goes behind him or some crazy thing like that. It's early, but it just feels like once 2 guys get on the same page, I don't care about all 4 right now. Let's just get baby steps, which I know isn't where we want to be. But let's see James Harden specifically and one other guy of the big 3 develop something nice in this Mavs game when it comes to chemistry, and I think that will click quickly. That's what really I'm hoping for in this Mavs game. I want to see some kind of connection where 2 guys are in sync with the you go I go type energy. Because right now, everyone's on a completely different frequency. And I know this isn't analytical in any way, but if you watch the games, no one is in sync. And it's a time thing. But they got to find something. The Mavs don't have the best defense. They're not like very good. They're just below average in their defensive rating. So there'll be some space there. It's not as big of a team as like the Knicks or something like that, but we got to hope that we see a two-man game from some of the big four in this Mavs game, right? Because there hasn't really been one between the big four.
Well, I mean, part of the reason that I have some concern is just it was set up for them going up against the 25th ranked defense, missing a ton of guys, including Cam Thomas
Right.
in the Brooklyn Nets last night. It was set up for them to figure things out or have a little bit more chemistry out there,
some
just two
room to make
guys.
something happen. Yeah.
And they couldn't. And it was just really strange to see. You may have the three best guys on your team that played in that ball game with Kawhi, Paul George, and James Harden. You could quibble over is Mikal
I mean,
Bridges better
for
than
the
James
top
Harden,
five, we can
whatever.
let's
Yeah.
say it that. Yeah. Like,
And I would have thought just talent alone, they get it done. And there's something else that's been on my mind. You know, you mentioned guys not
you've been
wanting to step
battling.
on their toes,
Yeah.
guys not just being too courteous.
Sure.
They're both trying to open the door for each other
Exactly.
at the same
It's
time, and they run into each
it's a
other.
push-pull one side, and they're both just holding the door closed still. Like, that's what the offense feels like.
I kind of just want to see more of playoff Kawhi in the regular season. And by that, I mean, we saw it in the overtime against the Lakers. By that, I mean,
He's trying,
Kawhi
man.
just says, whatever, guys, you guys can be out of sync. I'm going to get mine now. I'm
They
going
need
to
to
take
feed into
over.
that.
I may play a little bit of hero ball here. Sorry.
He
It may not
can.
be good
Go for
process.
it.
We're trying to win the ball
Kawhi
game,
can
though,
do it.
too. We had good
Yes.
process, or we tried things the first three quarters. Now I'm going to take things into my own hands, and I'm going to try to win the ball game.
Specifically to that point, if you watch that possession against the Nets late in the game, which we're probably gonna talk about it. We might as well talk about it now, where the Nets got like 3 of their 7 or like 3 of their 4 offensive rebounds in the fourth quarter came on one possession. Kawhi Leonard is sprinting around the perimeter, guarding guys, making those shots difficult, which is why they're missing them. And then the guards and Zoo are, I guess, doing their best to box out, but nothing is happening. And you see
James
Kawhi kind
and
of throw his
Russ blew
hands
their
up.
assignments on blocking.
Exactly. And you see Kawhi kind of throw his hands up, and it's like they need to feed into what Kawhi is doing on the defensive end specific, because the defense has also been there, right? Like 100 points, that's good defense, but they slipped at key times, like in the offensive boards. The Mavs, not very good offensive on the boards or anything like that, but like that is what Clippers fans are upset about, is that late execution. And Kawhi is doing his best, and I hope that they feed into that on the defensive end.
Kawhi and Paul George, I think, have been great defensively so far this season, and even the last 2 games while missing Nicholas Batum, last 3 games, so missing Batum, missing Rocco. I've seen an amazing effort from them on rotations on the perimeter. Paul George has been elite. He's been so good there and in tune, and everybody has possessions where they fall asleep for a little bit. But for the most part, those two have impressed me with their play defensively. I thought Russ had a tough defensive game last night when
so now
it
against
was
the Mavs,
Lonnie Walker hitting those threes in the third. A couple of them were on Russ. So against the Mavs, as you're saying?
like that's a tough 1-2 to go against. Like we got Kyrie and Luka now.
It is.
Against
the Mavs are surging. It was tough with just Luka when they had him. It was tough with just Kyrie in his first game as a Dallas Maverick beating the Clippers.
And I feel bad for Zoo in this game because Zoo's going to be put on. If there's one thing we know about Ty Lue playing the Mavs, Zoo's taking that switch. And we heard about in the offseason how Zoo was going to go closer up on these over screens, right? Like he was going to play a little further up. I'm very interested to see if that happens against this Mavs team. I don't think it will. because I don't think they got a new guy that got to figure out. I think we're going to see Zooin drop, and I think we're going to see some absurd Lucas shots that Zoo's doing his best on. And as a 7-footer, what else are you supposed to do? But they're going to go in.
Yeah.
I just feel bad for the highlight snippets, I guess, if you know what I'm saying.
Just know what's going to happen. Don't let it demoralize you. Play through it. Keep going. Remember how he got worn out by fourth quarters in that first round series in 2021, and his shooting percentage dipped precipitously. Zoo, though, picked a rough time to go into a funk, which is basically where he's been.
Do we think it's the thigh? Do we think his thigh is still hurt? Because I think it was Russo who pointed out on Twitter, or maybe it was Tomer. He's not throwing it down like he was late in the season. There were some Zoo dunks where it was like, oh, Zoo's putting it down a little bit. He doesn't have the same burst. I just wonder if the thigh is bothering him. This isn't some weird excuse or anything, but I think there's an issue there I don't think he's totally 100%.
It could be that. It could be bleeding in from him not having a good series against Phoenix. Like, is it confidence right now with Ivica Zubac? Sure. He seems very frustrated, demonstrably, with the officials and how things are being called. And he didn't play big against the Brooklyn Nets, who were small the entire game. No. And that's why you got pulled early in that third quarter for PJ Tucker, like 2 minutes in.
Which we're going to talk about in the next segment, because that cannot continue. Let's back to this Mavs game. We got off course, but I think all of this is relevant to how the Clippers have to play against the Mavs, who are playing very good basketball right now. I got to think Paul George is going to start, or he's going to shoot a little bit better. We've seen some glimmers of hope with Harden and Zoo in the pick and roll. I hope we see more of the good than the bad. What are you looking for on the bench? Because Tim Hardaway is what I'm a little bit worried about. He's putting up an efficient 18 a game off the bench for Dallas. And our bench defense with Plumlee out is in flux. Just put it nicely, I guess.
I'm worried right now that what I said about Bones before the James Harden trade is just going to become completely irrelevant. Because did he play in the second half last night? I know they went down to an 8-man rotation in the second half of that ball game against Brooklyn. But Bones also is somebody that, he got, I think, 6 shots up, something like that. This was somebody that I really thought was going to continue to develop. And then you see Terrence Mann come back in, and he's not even playing heavy minutes last night. Just how do you find room for Bones?
Bones had no minutes. Bones had no minutes in the second half. That is... I don't like that. I did not know that until 8:19 Mountain Standard Time. I don't like that. I hate that. How has that not been talked about for the hellscape that Clippers Twitter is right now? How is it the most?
There's a lot more issues going on, apparently.
But this is an actual important issue that I think could be discussed. This is okay, do we have to start second half Bones minutes watch?
Maybe.
That's crazy.
I think something else.
Wow. I'm sorry. That's insane.
There's one other thing that's been on my mind, and it's going back to the Lakers game when Norman Powell played like 23 straight on-court minutes from the middle of the third till he fouled out in overtime. Have we just forgotten or not caring about Amir Coffey anymore? Is Amir Coffey still on the team? Last time I checked, when Amir used to get minutes, he was more than serviceable. And that was a game where they were getting beat up on their defensive end. He could have switched onto multiple guys if you had him out there against the Lakers. And he's a big body.
I think you're partially not wrong. I don't think he totally swings it, but this is indicative of the larger issue, is that they ran an 8-man rotation in the second half.
I said.
When there's just no reason to. I think Amir is maybe a known quantity at this point.
Well,
but you're not wrong. We need these wins. That's what's important. Use everybody. I'm on your side. I'm fully on. I'm agreeing. It's rough. We got to fit these minutes for James, which just cramps things up rotationally.
Can I just point out how good Amir Coffey was in January of
There was, hey,
2022.
we know, we have the
But
receipts. I was there. It was a good time.
he's
He's
it's
never been
like
close to that since then in the minutes he's gotten.
he's
It's not like
disappeared,
he's
like he's
shined
not
since.
getting well, when's the last time he got consistent real rotation meaningful minutes though either to prove himself? I know last year his shot
I
wasn't
will,
great, but he didn't play much at all. Like
sure.
I'm not
But I
that
will say
worried
this.
about his shot. I want to see versatility defensively and some because Wingstop is pretty much over now in some ways.
Oh, it's been over. No, that was a pop-up. We got a pop-up wing stop,
Well,
which is very good in its short service,
Amir is
but not
still
in the long run.
a solid wing to give you 10 minutes here and there to sick on guys.
My thing is that I'm not disagreeing with you. The thing that's difficult for me to reconcile with is that this would actually make a difference. This shouldn't make a difference.
Well,
You know what I'm
when I
saying?
see
Like,
3 guards out there and it's Norm,
welcome.
Bones,
That's where we're at.
and Russ or James Harden, I think to
Not in
myself
the second
sometimes,
half.
like, Amir Coffey's still on the team. Like, he could still be useful in
Sure.
a certain role. And has the guy had didn't he have the game-winning layup when that big comeback they had against Philadelphia against Doc Rivers too? Amir really has shown things at times for this team, and he's just
I agree.
completely gone and out of the rotation. I I'm not saying he should be getting 35 minutes a night or he's the one who's
Oh, I
going to
know.
bridge the gap
I
between the big
know.
four or something like that. I'm just wondering
Sure.
in certain situations like that Laker game where Norton Fowles playing 23 straight minutes out there and they were going after him defensively. Amir's around, right? He's not hurt.
He's not
Yeah,
hurt.
I don't
He's
know.
there.
I don't know.
So how are we? Okay, let's bring it back to the Mavs game. Mavs are rolling. Clippers are not so much. What's your prediction for this Mavs game? In your heart of hearts, what we want to see, obviously, we got to assume Paul George is going to shoot better.
I don't know about that. He had 17 in the first half. You look at the end, he had 7 for 20, but
we still want the shooting to be better, right? Like we can't pretend that we don't want. We can't pretend that we're okay with 3 for 16 from 3 over the last 2 games. That's rough. It's going to be better.
Everybody has to shoot better. I don't even know about isolating Paul George has got to shoot better. And this is like no, everybody.
But he's a guy. But Paul George is a guy who he's the number 2. So I would like him to shoot better. I think it's fair to ask him to shoot better.
Yeah.
In this game.
Of course it's fair.
Where do you think Clippers win or lose?
It's just so atypical compared to what we're normally looking for. Oh, this guy needs to have a bounce back performance. It's like, no, the team has to bounce back after 2 really bad offensive games and figure things out quickly with James Harden. Here's what I hope happens, because I mentioned this last night on Clips and Double Dip on Clippers Talk. We've seen this team at times play down to opponents and then get up for opponents. And it's a big game. It's their first in-season tournament game. They're going into Dallas. It's a familiar foe. They know them really well. I'm hoping they lock in and they find their offense and they find some chemistry. And
oh no,
what?
I mean,
they haven't scored 100 points the last 2 games, Chuck. I'm hoping they figure it out.
I'm not.
What do you want me to say?
I know
they haven't
you just
yet.
Sound so. I'm empathizing
game.
with you. No, I'm empathizing with you because it's been so rough. I haven't heard you this downtrodden on the pod. This is. I'm with you.
I'm trying to have a sense of urgency early in the season.
Sure.
Because I know it's only 7 games, but my point is they don't have 75 more with all these guys healthy.
Don't even get me started on that Paul George quote that he said after the game.
You know what? I didn't see it.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
You can tell me.
You didn't see it?
I haven't, full disclosure, I haven't gone through all the post-game audio yet like I normally do.
Don't go through it. Paul George said, I'm not worried about this. Of course, we want to win these games. These are games we feel we should win, but it's early in the season. Too early to even be in that mindset. We got too much star power here. Great players for it not to work. I tweeted this, said we should be in the we should win these games mindset. We're 3-4. this isn't a team that's noted for bouncing back from adversity. We do our best in the face of adversity, and it goes as well as it should when your guys are out. But when everyone's healthy, maybe we should think we should win these games. That's how I'm saying. That's how I feel. Let's get some dubs.
Yeah, I'm with you. They need to, and this is their toughest opponent this week. This is their toughest
It's their
opponent
toughest
so
opponent all
far,
year so far. Yeah.
and more tough teams are coming. So look, I
I'm
can't
predicting
go
a-
into the season saying, oh, they should be like 9-4 at worst in their first 13 games, and now they're 3-4, and I just completely ignore that I said that. I mean, that's part of why I think there should be a sense of urgency, or at least I'm going to talk like, hey, these games matter. It's a big deal. It may be early in the season. It may just be game 3 with James Harden, but they still matter. There are teams right now that are taking off in the Western Conference, and you don't want to be left behind.
I love the urgency. I love the urgency. I think they get the win. I
like it. I'm with you.
It's the in-season tournament. Paul George is going to shoot better. Excuse me, I'm enjoying this wonderful Montana Scotch ale. Paul George is going to shoot better. Zoo, people are still going to hate him no matter what he does. I hope PJ Tucker takes 3 shots. I don't care. Just make him think you're going to take them. Yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm hoping for.
He actually was their best player yesterday. He was a plus 10 in a game they lost by 7.
that makes my head hurt.
Well, that's what happened. They basically got outscored by 17 in the 28 minutes that PJ Tucker wasn't on the court.
Ugh. All right, we're going to talk about PJ Tucker. We're going to talk about Mason Plumlee being out for up to 2 months. Let us know what you think is going to happen over on @ClippersPod on Twitter. Also, welcome to all the new subscribers on @ClippersPodcast over on YouTube. We have 600 sickos who, for some reason, love to hear us talk about the Clippers, which is a good time.
There are dozens of us.
Yeah, yeah, dozens. So thank you for following us. We got ads coming up. They've been a little too loud for some people. We got ads coming up. Then we're talking Mason Plumlee's injury and potential targets. Ads in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back into Clips and Dip, episode 21, 20 of season 2? 22?
22.
Just a little bit behind. Everything's just a little bit off right now.
Okay.
A little bit of fine tuning is all we need here, baby.
We're gonna be fine.
Everything's fine. Everything is fine. It's gonna be fine. I don't know why my name tag says scary thoughts. Halloween's effing over, Chuck.
Yeah,
how dare you?
Change all this. Yeah, it's my bad.
So coming up in this segment, we'll talk about trade scenarios or people that could be available. I guess we can do that right off the top. Here is Mason Plumlee, and this was actually, it's still good news overall.
Yeah.
If it's not a season-ending injury, anything outside of that is pretty darn good news regarding Mason Plumlee. Sure, and what you brought up was a scary, dangerous, maybe reckless play out there by Julius Randle.
You
want to go after it?
I don't want to go after it, but if you watch the play, I think everyone thought to themselves, "What the fuck is he doing?" Like, I'm not saying it's like a wreck. I don't think he was like, "I want to tear Mason Plumlee's knee." Like, but it's just a play where it's just like, that was a dumbass play.
You know why I think that play happened? Because he was playing so bad, shooting just 27% coming into that game. The New York media, the fans, they were destroying him. And he wanted to look like, hey, I'm on the floor, giving it full all-out Dennis Rodman, Superman-like effort. I think that's why it happened, honestly. If he had a good game before, it wouldn't have happened. But
no, I like that idea. I think that's maybe – I think that also like makes sense to me. Like if I were in his position and there was a loose ball and the New York Post was posting wild shit about me, I could see me. Anyway, it was a rough situation. But now PJ Tucker is spelling Ivica Zubac, which Carl Tart, I can say this on the show, got a PJ Tucker jersey. He purchased a PJ Tucker Clippers jersey. I think he's the first and maybe only person outside of the Tucker family to do that. But
did he have to create a jersey on NBA.com?
Oh yeah, no, that's not. Yeah, that's not an available jersey. That's that's a couple extra shekels for the PJ Tucker jersey.
I do like PJ Tucker. I've been a fan for a long time.
Sure, I don't like him as the backup center.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
that's not crazy? Like he's not,
no.
we cannot play small ball 5 with PJ Tucker.
Well, they have.
Oh, they have, and we lost, and it was
Yeah.
bad.
Well, actually, I thought he won his minutes. He was a
Okay,
+10 out there. I'm
hey,
just saying.
I
I thought he was
can't.
pretty darn good.
I cannot argue with the +10 thing, but the Clippers front office seemingly understands that they also can't have PJ Tucker as the backup 5. Daniel Theis was reported as Shams as the center of interest. Won the gold medal with Germany over the summer. Has not played, I don't think, at all for the Pacers, and he's vocal about it. He said, obviously, after a great summer, I'm not happy with the situation I'm in right now. He's a 6'8 center. He sets really good screens, hustle defense guy. People seem to love his passing. I'm not sure I'm totally sold on that, but he makes $9 million a year. So this is not like an easy thing to do. Where are you at on the Clippers reported? For everyone telling us maybe we shouldn't talk about this, it's been reported they want Daniel Theis. Adam, where are you at on the Daniel Theis? Scale of 1 to 10.
What
10, give me Theis. 1, what the hell are we doing?
what number does he wear? Can I
Let me
can I add
check.
it into that scale of 1 to 10? Look, I really
Daniel
liked him
Theis,
actually
jersey
with Boston.
number.
I liked the way he played with Boston. I
Sure.
thought he was a big time, similar to PJ Tucker in some ways. He would still be an undersized uh, backup center and somebody that just plays with a lot of heart, a lot of hustle out there, doesn't take a lot of
Yeah,
shots. Um, I his
sure.
passing ability, yeah, he showed that off at times with playing next to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I just don't
Yeah.
know how realistic it is unless because everybody's looking at his contract situation where he's making 9 million. So you have to get within what 80% of that in a trade.
Hey, Terrence Mann for Daniel Theis works straight up.
No, I don't think that's why they held out with
You're not pulling the
Philadelphia
trigger?
to then trade
They
Terrence
said, wait a
Mann
minute,
for
buddy,
Daniel
but we
Tice.
can get Daniel
Yeah,
Theis for
you don't know
this
this
guy.
deal we got in the works over here.
Yeah, we got a
Terrence is
backroom
taken
deal.
and not by
Oh,
us. It's actually
that's so
Indiana.
funny.
No.
Yeah. So he's number 27 for
Okay,
Indiana.
that doesn't really help me out anyway.
Bad number. I would argue bad number.
uh, okay. How do they make it work for him? Who would the most likely players be involved? I'm assuming Amir Coffey's one of them.
Well, so Man and Zoo work straight up if you do a 1-for-1, but they're not going to do that.
Okay.
PJ Tucker for Tice works, but if you're Indiana, why would you're wanting more than PJ Tucker?
Are you?
You're
He's
trading for
not
someone you're going to
playing.
waive, right? But also, like, they don't have to make this trade,
They don't. It would
right? So they would be like, give us more. They're not going to be nice
or
about
maybe
it.
it's a
I
future
wouldn't
second
be.
round pick, something like that. What
Okay,
if it's a
so
bigger
PJ
trade?
Tucker.
What if it's about more than just Daniel Tice then to make the money work?
I haven't done enough research for that. Can I tell you the research I have done?
Yeah. What low level research have you been doing?
Very low level. Plumlee and Coffee work, but Plumlee can't be traded for a while due to his contract. And a lot of people want Norm traded. A lot of people think Norm is redundant, and they think that maybe you do Norm for McConnell and Tice.
Uh,
How do you feel
I do
about
think
that?
Norm is a legit trade asset, a chip. I don't know if this is the move though. I know a lot of people say, well,
I
he's
agree with
paid too much.
that.
And a lot of teams aren't going to want that contract. I disagree. Once you get closer to the trade deadline and somebody sees Norm as an easy 15 a game that can aid their team, I think he becomes a lot more valuable then. I like Norm on the Clippers right now, but there's a minutes crunch. You want to talk about Bones Highland not playing? That's one of the major reasons.
Yeah.
Uh, so I don't know if this is because I think Norm is one of their last
This isn't the
moves
move
this
to move
season. Yeah.
Norm. Well, a Norm, so Norm plus the 2030 pick, if they want to get really crazy,
Whoa.
is worth a lot.
Well, yeah.
What if they make a move for Jeremy Grant? Like that's a I think if
That's
things get
different.
crazy and they want to make a move later in the season for someone who's going to help them more than Daniel Theis, you save Norm and the 2030 pick. I don't think they will. It's not based on anything, but
I would rather just sign Wenyen Gabriel. I like Wenyen Gabriel. I
he
saw him
played for the
plenty
Clippers. Yeah.
last year. He hustles, he plays hard. We're talking about somebody playing 10, 15 minutes a night.
But so here's the other thing that's tough is that Plumlee was getting around 17 a night. Most of his nights were over 20 because he had some offset ones in there to start this thing. What worries me is, sure, let's say we sign a backup 5 who's not 6'8" Daniel Theis. I'm hung up on the height. I will say that.
Gabriel's a little bit undersized too, but that guy bullies.
But we're still stuck with Tucker playing some small ball 5 minutes. So I think in the
Coach
grand
Lou
scheme of
likes
things,
Tucker. He's going to play some.
which sucks, which is not ideal right now.
I
He's
don't
going to
mind.
play, but he can't play as the center. The team is rough with him at center.
You want him at the 4, like guarding
No.
guys that are even quicker?
I mean, no, but it's a no-win situation. Like, I'm not saying there's a better scenario. So I guess I wish Mason Plumlee wasn't hurt because I feel like I guess that's what it comes back to.
Mason Plumlee's hurt, and Big Zoo is going through a rough patch at the same
Big
time.
Zoo is going through a rough patch. We can talk about that. It bums me out that he's going to have he's got to make so much more quick decisions in the short roll. We've seen him make good decisions in the short roll, but James Harden is a different level of distributor. A very quick, it's A to B right there. And Zoo needs to get to that, and he's not ready for it yet, and the spacing is wonky.
He needs to get on the jugs machine or have John Elway throw a few balls to him or something.
It'll be like that scene. Is it that the scene in Air Bud, the really sad scene where the bad dad is throwing the basketballs at the kid to try and get him to catch the passes better?
I thought Air Bud was something we talked about by the preview, but nobody actually had seen Air Bud or gone to
No, I'll
watch
tell
it.
you what. If you haven't seen Air Bud,
You want to talk about a specific scene from Air Bud? Like,
that
you remember that one part, the sad part?
It's a horrifying scene. It's terrible.
I'm in shock.
No,
That's horrifying.
I think Zoo needs to make quicker decisions out of the short roll, and
at the basket, go up strong. Yeah. He got blocked by Smalls yesterday. I think it was back-to-back possessions where he got blocked.
Paul George usually doesn't say the right thing, but when he said that Zubats needs to play like the biggest guy on the court, he absolutely nailed that. Most of the time, he's doing his own thing. But that quote is totally on point. Zoo needs to play how big he is. And I think it's the quad thing. I think it's the quad. I don't think it's 100%, which sucks.
Yeah, that's a problem then too. Whatever the reason is, whether it's between the ears or physically, he's laboring right now and not 100% and just trying to fight through it. We know he's the type of guy that would. He never wants to miss a game.
No.
And typically when
he can go off,
there's something related going on there. Physically, like even last season before he started missing games, you could tell he was a little bit hobbled out there. He wasn't quite right. So Big Zoo's a tough guy.
What do you think? What do you think about Nerlens
Noel?
Yeah.
I love him actually.
What do you think about Nerlens?
I wanted him on the first Noel. I wanted him a couple of years ago.
Dude,
when he had that nice season right there, dude. That was OKC. Nice. He had a really good year a few years ago with OKC, and then I think he went to New York, and I was like, man, I wouldn't have mind seeing him.
I don't know if he's been bad or hurt, which if that's the case, then maybe I don't want it. I obviously don't want him on the team.
He has been injury prone.
He's a free agent, and I know I keep harping on this. Mason Plumlee was a legit 7-footer. Yeah. Daniel Theis is 6'8". We're just playing small ball again. We're just playing small ball with a worse shooter. And I don't think that is what the Clippers need for 18 minutes a game. Because then That means that Daniel Theis is 6'8". That means the backup center after him is PJ Tucker. And it's just like more of the same shit. Like, what is PJ Tucker and Daniel Theis is a way better passer than PJ Tucker, obviously. Everything else is the same.
Here's what's so alarming about
Except the height.
last night's game. They saw a team in the Brooklyn Nets who played small the entire time. They didn't have Nick Claxton. They didn't have Cameron Johnson. Cam Thomas goes out. They didn't have Ben Simmons. And they still played bigger down the stretch or looked like it than the Clippers.
Yeah.
Like that was the ideal situation for Zoo to detonate.
Yeah.
And take over. And it didn't happen. That was an ideal situation for the Clippers to crush them on the boards. I think they ended up winning it by like 2, but they lost on the offensive board.
Clippers. So yeah, hold on. I've been poring over these stats. For the whole game, the Clippers won boards 51-49.
Yeah.
Offensive boards for the Nets 14, 11 for the Clips. 11 for the Clips.
And by the way,
yeah. And that's also guard play too. Watch some of the guard play.
Yeah. And we have seen so far in fourth quarters, not only have they lost the last 2 games, they got worse by the end of the last 2 games. When the going got tough in fourth quarters.
Yeah.
They had 8 turnovers in the fourth quarter last night. It was either 7 or 8. I've seen 2 different box scores on this, but I believe they had 8 turnovers heading into the fourth.
Can we talk about that for a second? What the fuck is up with the box scores, dude? NBA.com, not right. I'm getting team box scores that I assume are right, but they're different. Like, how can we not figure this shit out?
It's like that scene in Air Bud where they thought he had the quadruple double, but they took it away from him.
That's what I'm saying. The courts took it away. They ruled, mistrial. Like,
I don't know what the statisticians are here.
Make it the same. It should all be the same. Anyway, sorry.
They're tallying it in real time, and people see things differently, okay?
But, like, have one person tally it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's – why is it different?
Some say during Jordan's defensive MVP season – he got a lot of love at home by the box score watchers.
Did. Everyone does.
Like there were a lot more steals and blocks at home than when he was on the road.
John Stockton got hockey assists. Who cares? Like, it's just anyway.
I mean, they have been fudged forever. Like the box scores inconsistencies. That's a well-known thing. Right. But I think it was
back to our original.
It was either 7 or 8 assists in the fourth quarter. My point is, when teams are starting to tighten the screws during winning time, that puts even more pressure on you to fall back on whatever foundation or system or what you're running offensively, and the Clippers don't have anything to fall back on.
That. Yeah,
so
I don't like that.
That's why it's looked so bad those early minutes in the fourth quarter. They had 4 turnovers in the first 3 minutes, 4 turnovers last night. They had that quick 7-0 run against them. With the New York Knicks in a rough lineup that was out there. And that's something else. I'm still a little bit perplexed. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought I was at media day and I thought Coach Lue specifically said when they were talking about availability and having Kawhi and Paul George fully unleashed that I could be wrong, but I thought he said they were going to stagger them. One of them would be on the court at all times. That is yet to happen.
He did.
7 games into the season. In fact, the last minute and a half of the first quarter last night, none of the big 4 were on the court, which
that's what happens when you run an 8-man rotation. That's what happens,
I thought we'd have 2 of them at all times once they brought in Harden, and it hasn't happened yet. And I know it's built in that you are going to try new things because you haven't seen James Harden play with this group or that group, and there's different combinations out there. And I understand there's built-in tinkering happening, and it has to happen. But I would I'm wondering, can we get Paul George and Kawhi Leonard? Is it a minutes thing? Why one of them can't be on the court at all times? I don't understand it.
I will say pretty much every advanced stat shows that the Clippers absolutely destroy opponents with both of them on the floor. So I do get it from that standpoint. But this is also based on what they said. So you're not, I get that. And I think this is actually kind of a good way to close the show, where we obviously want the Clippers to beat the Mavs. We want that to happen. I don't think anyone knows how. And I mean that in a
Well, you're gonna have to
very
score.
honest way. We don't know how, like, none of us really, like, in terms of what needs to happen. Yeah, sure, maybe Russ maybe needs to get benched for Terrence Mann. That's not going to happen tomorrow. We're at this point where we're going game by game, which is uneasy. And we have enough talent that they should probably not be 3-4. They definitely shouldn't be 3-4. And we need, when this is the situation, if we're talking about the sacrifice or we're talking about who really is the big four and how that works out on this team, it's Kawhi and Paul George lifting us during this time of uncertainty. And I don't think I don't mean that in some mean way, like they haven't. They were great in the Lakers game, like maybe you have 2 bad games, sure. This is the game now. This is a Western Conference opponent. This matters a lot more than these 2 other Eastern Conference games we played. This is the time for Kawhi and Paul George. Not that they haven't done this, but this would be a really great time for them to assume their responsibilities and play like we know they can play. Because if they are at 80% at the same time, give me the Clippers every single day. Even just 80% of them at the same time together. Give me the Clippers every single day. And that's what we need right now while Mason Plumlee's out and we try and integrate James Harden into this lineup.
Yeah. With those two available, when they have been, the Clippers have won 70% of the games. They have a
They gotta
great
be the stars.
winning
They're still the
percentage
stars.
when they're there. So to be 3-4, having them all 7 games so far is tough. And I'll say it again, but it could just be, and it really has to be, if it's going to be successful, this is the one step back to get to 2 steps or 3 steps or 4 steps if things
Let's
really
call it a
click
leap
in.
forward. Let's call it a
Yeah,
leap forward. Yeah.
for
The
mankind.
great leap forward? Maybe not. That's a little, it's okay. So we hope the Clippers win against the Mavs. We're doing a double dip tomorrow. You and Will, maybe?
Yeah. Either one of you guys, whoever's available, let's definitely do it.
I am back in Los Angeles on Saturday. I'll tell you what, I cannot wait to be back.
What's wrong with
Wait to be
Montana?
back in LA.
Why are you hating?
A lot is wrong with Montana. Number one, I have to have a vitamin D light when I work. There's no fucking sun here. I don't know how I lived here for so long. Anyway, full
Who
tripod
needs
on
sun when you
Sunday.
got Air Bud?
Oh my God. Full tripod on Sunday after the nooner. There's the noon 30 game on Sunday. We can get a full tripod going. That'll be fun. Just
I'm down.
BSing, just the guys hanging out. Maybe we go live. That's a
Do it
fun
live.
time.
I'm good with that.
We'll do
Yeah.
it live.
Actually, we haven't done like a post game like that live. That'd be fun.
No, the last time we did live was when we did the Harden thing and everyone watched what we said. And then after a bunch of stuff happened, came and commented on it. Yeah. Wish I could do the same. Check us out on YouTube. Over on youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. You can find us on iTunes. Reviews help us. We haven't read them in a while, but we will when we're all together. We appreciate everyone who's listening. If you're a new fan and you're still a fan after they lost 2 games in a row, you're in the family. If you bailed after they lost 2 games in a row, enjoy whatever else you're doing. Welcome to all the new people. Thank you to all the old people who've stuck with us. Shout out Eric Bui for these wonderful graphics. Adam, I've been pretty positive this episode. But you send out the listeners with a fantastic, positive thing most episodes. What can you tell these fantastic people as we head into this crucial matchup against the Mavs?
Look, as concerned as I've been in this episode regarding just whether or not it's possible for 4 guys to stay hot and stay in rhythm together at once, the truth is these are the problems you typically do want to have in the National Basketball Association. These are first world NBA problems. How do we figure out how to get James Harden, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Russell Westbrook to work together? You'd rather have this than what some of the teams coming into the season that just have hopes of maybe being in the play-in tournament are dealing with right now. So let's put things in perspective. And Coach Lou, I think, is the right guy. When the going gets tough, we've seen him be masterful in playoff situations. and make those tough decisions. And I feel like tomorrow night, it's an in-season tournament game. It's basically the playoffs. No, okay, it's not that. It's not like that.
It's basically the playoffs.
It's not. It's not. But it's going to be a heightened atmosphere. It's going to be fun.
Sure.
And I think the Clippers are going to rise to the challenge. I hope they do. And some of that shooting stuff, like the 5 straight open three-pointers they missed in the fourth quarter against the Brooklyn Nets, they're due to hit 5 straight from the outside. So maybe it's the right time.
There we go.
Wrong time for the Mavericks to have to deal with the Clippers, but the right time for the Clippers to find themselves and get their shooting luck and variance back in their favor.
There we go. We will be back with the full crew. William Updike is usually with us. I am Chuck Mockler. He is Adam Oslin. Find us on Twitter. Just look up our names. You'll find them. We'll be back. And as always, let's go Clips.